Hello friends, in this video I shall aim to give you some important tips while handling a hard leathery Morgagnian cataract with a fibrotic anterior capsule. This patient had a Morgagnian cataract and the anterior capsule was very fibrotic. There were patches of fibrosis that were speckled over the anterior capsule. Remember that a tear cannot go through this fibrotic area and we therefore need to navigate either beyond it or go inside it. It's imperative to stain the anterior capsule with trypan blue. Place a little blob of visco at the side port entrance to prevent the blue from leaking out. Give it a stay period of at least 15 to 30 seconds to allow good staining of the anterior capsule, and only then would you like to make the main 2.8mm clear corneal incision and then wash out the trypan blue. Now let us see the very challenging capsular exis that occurred in this particular case. The anterior capsule, as you can see, has large areas of speckled fibrosis, so I initially tried to create an opening in the anterior capsule using the bent end of a 26 gauge cystotome. Now while I attempt to create this opening in the anterior capsule, I run into an area of fibrosis and I'm pretty much stuck. I make multiple openings in the anterior capsule and I wonder if I can ever finish the rexis in this case. It is at this time that I switch over to the Utrado forceps. The advantage of the Utrado forceps is that because it grasps the anterior capsule, it can help you to navigate the tear in whatever direction you want, unlike a cystotome where the tear is made against the anterior surface of the lens. At this point, there is a large patch of fibrosis and I'm simply using the Utrado forceps to take the tearing edge around this fibrotic area and navigate it, circumvent it, and then I'm able to bring it in and complete a nice round curvilinear capsular exis of adequate size of about 5 to 5.25mm. While I wash off the overlying thick inspissated epinucleus, I realized that the underlying cataract is pretty hard. It is at least a grade 6 nucleosclerotic cataract. I'm using a power of 50% in this case and multiburst mode, and let me show you how I create the direct chop in this particular case. So when I make the first chop itself, that is starting from the mid-peripheral location, I realize how leathery and hard this cataract is. Normally, if any of you have handled a Morgagnian cataract with this grade of hardness, you will know how difficult it is to even initiate and complete a chop that can be carried through and through. So many times we open it up in a flower petal pattern and try to emulsify it. But you can see that in this particular patient, I'm able to get this crack to go right through the nucleus. The secret here is the fact that you initiate the crack close to the equator. You use a vertical chop as well as use a crushing force as you drag the chopper towards the phaco-tip. You are using the combined effects of both the horizontal and the direct vertical chop in this kind of maneuver by taking the sharp chopper to almost the equator of the lens. In a Morgagnian cataract, the equator of the lens is quite visible. The entire lens is quite small. You see the pupil is just about 4mm and you can see the edge of the nucleus, which means that the nucleus maximum size is around 4 to 5mm. The single most important tip that I like to offer is if you'd like to chop this, start the chop close to the equator of the lens and then carry it through the lens, and you use a combination of a vertical split force as well as a horizontal compressive and fracture force, and this will both act in unison and help you to create a wonderful through and through chop. It almost always works in Morgagnian cataract. In case you have been suffering with handling a hard Morgagnian cataract, then you can try this level of chopping. Because the nucleus is small, you don't really have to carry the chopper too much to the periphery. And you see that this Morgagnian cataract, which is generally very difficult to handle, was kind of managed in a very, very simple manner. Then the IOL goes in, there's no cortex at all. It's up to you whether you want to put in a CTR or not, because it's a Morgagnian cataract and the case comes to an end. Thank you for your attention.